everybody! Welcome to Playbook by Laserforce Loveland. This podcast is a platform for laser tag players to geek out about strategies, stories, and ongoings in the Laserforce scene, and for you to join us as another player at the table. My codename is Mischief. I'm a player from Loveland, Colorado, who loves to talk about tag. And tonight, I'm going to be telling some stories with the Fear Turkey / Bagel from Loveland, Colorado. Welcome on, buddy.
Hello. Do me a favor and like and subscribe.
Please. The turkey told you to.
Please.
To be transparent with the audience, Josiah is one of my best friends in the entire world. He and I have gone through many tournaments together as 3-hit partners. We have been with each other through many life events. And so this podcast, I think, is going to be just a really fun one. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Did you have any thoughts when I told you about the concept?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of adventures, some of them awesome, and some of them not super awesome. And you know, those ups and downs, they bring a group together. I'm excited about delving into the lore.
1000%. If you hear any ASMR, I'm chewing on some mac and cheese back here while we're doing this. Cheese. I'm crackers about it. I'm glad you got that. So I have a big list of the general eras of Loveland from 2014 all the way through 2025. And some big things that happened. I have a slideshow. I've just got like pictures pulled up. And so we're going to kind of walk through. But the theme today is just the Loveland story. The Loveland laser tag Space Marines 5 site has had a long history, starting all the way from being introduced as the newest site in the tournament, all the way to most recently becoming world champions. And I want to reminisce and walk down through it with the Fear Turkey here. And so I want to start telling the story. You know, part of why I'm calling this Loveland Stories, because I've often compared our story to Woody and Buzz from Toy Story. So in 2014, I went off to college. I had been working at Loveland Laser Tag for a few years, and I'm not saying this was true necessarily, but I was under the illusion or the belief that I was the best player at the Loveland site when I left for college. When I came back from college, lo and behold, there was a turkey who had taken the throne. And as hard as I tried to defeat him, like I could beat you in games, but it was clear like you were the superior player, and everyone thought so. And our story began with me having a resentment of you and your skill. Remember those early...
Oh, you were such a hater.
I know, I was. Remember those days? The Monday night SM5?
I remember a lot. We played a lot of bad Space Marines at that point. This is before there was a wall and fortress, so the strategy on red was just run as fast as possible and get into green.
There were even times before the third floor. Do you remember before the third floor?
Oh, yeah. Second floor Space Marines was a mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even the second floor was even more crucial. Third floor definitely made the arena more playable.
Yeah, if you went downstairs, you were kind of just dead.
So, do you remember
Do
you remember the St. Georgians coming out to teach us the game?
Oh, I didn't play at that time. I started playing in, like, my first competitive event was 2016. I was playing Members Night all throughout 2015. Got banned. And then kept playing after I was unbanned.
When did you first play tag? When did you start coming?
I mean, I had been going to Loveland Laser Tag throughout my childhood. I was probably like 9 or 10. It was called Laser Tracks back then.
Laser Tracks.
Laser Tracks. My first code name was Mr. Sardines.
How did it get to Turkey? The fear turkey.
There's a very inappropriate line from a YouTube series called Helsing Abridged, and that's where it comes from. I bounced around a couple of different code names.
Yeah, 100%.
Sometimes the staff would change my code name. Bad at Highlander. I was that for a little while.
Well, without knowing the context, it's certainly a unique name. It fits just enough characters on the screen where like the whole thing's visible, and it's got a much different meaning for a lot of people now.
Yeah, it means whatever you want it to mean.
Means that dude that keeps missile dodging me by bending all the way over in half.
Yeah, stop aiming at me with your butt, please. I get it.
So, I guess like we're describing the origins of the Loveland site here, and you know, you and I, we were kind of in and out at different times for a minute there. Back in like 2011 is when I got introduced to members nights, and it wasn't Space Marines nights. It was like we would play all the games, Highlander, Dungeons and Dragons, and we did play some Space Marines, but it was kind of just thrown in with all the other ones. It wasn't until 2014, Thunder and the St. George crew from Utah, Laser Mania, I think it's called. They came out literally on like this missionary trip with a team of 6, and they showed us how to play Space Marines 5. They introduced us to the rule set that the international scene uses, and we did a 6-team mini tournament. It didn't get finished, but like I played on a team. Sergeant Tucker was there, and Loki was there, and the St. Georgians I think went undefeated. Just they had such superior knowledge of how to play the game at all. And I remember sitting down with Thunder for like an hour while he just talked to me about nukes. Like it was they really opened the door on that there's more to the game than just what we were playing at the time. And then something must have happened, because the next year the whole scene agreed to come out and play internationals at our site. So Loveland got to host in 2015. And a lot of people came by. You were unfortunately not able to play in that one, but you were around, right?
Band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was around. I worked there. And so Princess Noah is who taught me how to play laser tag. And I think Princess Noah played in the 2014 event.
Yeah.
But there was a while there where we had just like a weird desertion from a lot of the member base. We went from like 20 people down to like the 13 or 14. And then you came back.
Yeah.
Everything was all right again.
Well, I can tell you from my end, like, yeah, a lot of people randomly left after that. I was getting really into it because of Nats. There were literally 10 teams. 8 of them were from outside of Loveland. That Brisbane team was to this day the most, just like on a point ratio basis, the most dominant team to play in the Loveland site. Now no one knew how to play Loveland, so everyone came in, and everyone had like all these weird new strategies they were trying out. We got our butts handed to us, and suddenly we were on a quest to become at least a much better laser tag team. We began traveling around the states and doing members nights specifically for Space Marines 5. That then became like, I don't even remember who was really in charge. Like, I think I started to work there again for a minute. It was kind of between you and me, and maybe there were some others. Joe Sergeant Tucker was definitely in the running, but we got invited out to San Marcos West Coast Tournament in 2016. That was our first go as a full team. Jeff Willie.
Oh, you hated me.
Oh, I did not like you. I remember that we voted on the captains, and I voted. I thought you were going to get the popular vote, so I pretty much was like, I'm just not going to vote for him and hope that I get it. And you were the captain, and I think rightfully so. I think you were a better player and much more likable, and had the interest of the team and not yourself at heart.
I disagree. I was egoed out at that time.
Oh, really? I really haven't heard that side of it.
I mean, I felt like I was pretty indestructible for a little bit there, because right after Nats, you guys like had a little bit of a level up in the members night perspective, but I still felt like I was super strong into any of my matchups against you guys. And then I would come out of those games and everybody would always just hype me up and stuff, so I was just like riding it.
It's true. We felt pretty. We felt sad that we didn't get to have you on our team. It's possible. I think probably we could have at least placed 1 or 2 spots higher if we had you. But that tournament,
I'd have gotten penalized to garbage.
we all were. I was getting so upset at the blind fire rule, because like we never played with it before. We never had refs before. Suddenly, like, it was their rules, their arena. They didn't really care about what we had to say. They changed our starting position for us. They blocked our windows. Like, we were.
We still had windows in 2015. They blocked up the windows in 2018.
Well, we weren't allowed to shoot through the windows, I think.
I don't know. I didn't get to play.
I definitely got penalized for shooting through windows, because I was like, "What? This is how I play. This is my arena." But anyway, so we go out to San Marcos. The lineup was, let's see, we have a few key right off the bat. This first team had some really key members here. So we had you and me, Sergeant Tucker, who's just about our age in his own, coming into the scene. Slaughtermelon at the time, Rainbow Panther, a young 13-year-old lad, Feeder, and Otaku Lord. Can you give me your perspective on that trip?
It was really cool going to California. That was our first time. We rode in Sergeant Tucker's car, and Ivy, now Otaku Lord, then drove their own car. And this was like the middle of March, so in Colorado it was the winter season, so we had all those winter jackets. My mom made us pack a sandbag in the trunk to make sure we didn't slide off the road. Which, to the disgruntling of Joe, was a condition of us being able to make it happen. Feeder was actually a last-minute pickup for this team. We weren't allowed to. One of the players that we were planning on bringing out got grounded.
Who was it? I forget.
That was No Cole No.
No Cole No. Oh my goodness, you're right. Man, there were some major players at the time that just aren't around anymore, and Cole was one of those top echelon players. MVP of our Nats 2015 team.
King Kong. There were a lot of people that
Joshua
never played with us.
I remember Jeff Willie sponsoring our team. He provided a fair amount of funding for us to get hotel rooms, and Loveland made us jerseys, Phil's Vanguard, with like Vanguard custom patches for our code names on the side. Like Jeff was really excited to send us out and really supported us.
Absolutely. And then when we got there, we were terrible.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's fine to like tell the story a bit. Like, one of our players' mothers was tracking our speed limit. We're tracking the speed of our car across the highways as I was going super fast, a little too fast through Utah. These big open roads.
We got caught.
Yeah. So we were crawling at the speed limit through Utah, and we arrived. The tournament already started, right?
Yeah, we
Like-
got there like 3 hours late. Rolled up, played like 4 games back to back, lost all of them.
Mm-hmm. I think we immediately went in against the Beasts of the East team. It was like
That was our
Guru,
first time playing against
Jerbear.
Baden.
Mm-hmm. Yep, never seen the arena before. They just made us shoe in there, and we had to go.
It was time.
Yeah. And the tournament went about as well as you could expect. We did defeat the Sacramento B team, I think.
The SAC B team had a Zero Space Marines game, Kraken, on it at age 14,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and a literal 10-year-old. I don't remember whose child that was. I think it was Disco's child.
Mm.
They also had Morphin. That team got beat up.
Let's see.
And then after we came out of those games, we felt all good about ourselves. And then we would go back into another game and get trashed.
100%. It was real bad. Kind of a miserable experience, to be honest.
A lot of blaming each other. Not a lot of accountability.
Yeah, our team was super dysfunctional. No one stuck to their roles the whole time. We just kept switching people around, trying to make something happen. You did a lot of heavy and commander, I'm pretty sure. I think we had feeder, medic. I have a memory of Snowflake getting a nasty trick play on me where I think they sent their whole team to attack us while Snowflake stayed on his side of the map. And I tagged him down, and then I checked like 6 different pockets near him because he was acting like he was protecting somebody. And he pretty much wasted like a whole minute of my time while the other team was killing you guys. I felt a fool.
It's not your fault we died. Our inability to stay organized was really, really clear. Our medic would run off and we would never be able to find him. After we got pushed the first time, we would just disperse, and then the rest of the game was just painful.
Mhm.
Every game.
Definitely. I mean, we were playing like a bunch of kids who had never played in the arena before and were brand new to the scene. Like, the fact that we won any games at all was a miracle.
I believe you had a friend whose mom let us stay at their house while we were out there.
Yeah, my roommate at the time had a mom living out there, so we got to sleep on her floor. She was very accommodating. Thank you, Thomas's mom.
Thank you, Thomas's mom. Shout out Thomas's mom. Like and subscribe.
Yeah. So, what did you take away from that tournament?
I don't remember really like receiving very much from this event. I was just kind of like, so previous to this, the San Marcos team had come out to Loveland in 2015, and our B team got 5 nukes on them. And this is what gave Rainbow Panther the Rookie of the Year award during that 2015 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so excited, he took a picture of the scoreboard and posted it on Facebook. Now, us feeling proud of ourselves was not very considerate of their feelings. They were pretty pissed. So naturally they thrashed us pretty good when we went out there.
Mm-hmm.
They took a picture and posted it on Facebook when they beat us to kind of spit back in our face.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember taking that a little personally, um, feeling like, well, I didn't ask, I wasn't my picture, you know. But yeah, it's hard to grow when you already think that you're better than everyone else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I was pretty pig-headed at this event.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of tension there. I wanted to consider them our rivals, but they weren't coming back to any other tournaments after that. So it was unfortunate, but when you think about it, like we were all under the age of 20 at the time, and it's not hard to see us acting kind of immature towards each other. So fair enough.
Children leading children. Lord of the Flies.
Pretty much. We played 14 total games at that event. You played mostly heavy, a little commander, a little scout. Yeah, and that was also the event like we didn't even get to play in the elimination bracket due to disagreements with the owner, I think.
Oh no, it was time restrictions.
Restrictions.
Yeah, the bottom teams fell out and they played top 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We did not get to participate in that.
Didn't even qualify for finals. That's how bad we were.
Yep. But anyway, that was our first tournament. I mostly remember the car ride stories, seeing the ghost deer, why are there birds? Feeder did not fly back with us, unfortunately.
Nope. We had to drop him off at the airport.
Yep. Flew back on his own because we were dangerous. So then we got to speed very quickly back through Utah. And when you think about it, like there was some good origin stuff in here. So, you know, as we kind of go through, I think it's worth talking about the players besides us as well and how they were developing. So Sergeant Tucker in 2015 played medic for our A team, and he did a great job. He had already begun to mainly play that role. In this tournament, he played 10 games of ammo and 4 games of medic, so Sergeant Tucker was establishing himself as a resupply main, though he could definitely play other roles. Rainbow Panther played mostly scout, a little bit of 3-hit, which he would keep growing as an offensive player primarily for us. Ivy played strictly scout, and Feeder played pretty much all medic, a little bit of ammo, so he was also... Like, we were starting to develop some specialties, quote unquote, as a team.
There were foundations going down.
Yeah, pretty much. Fledgling laser tag site, and then, well, not that. Then after that, you know, we kept going back and practicing, and I remember that we pretty much still, you and I, like, there was still a lot of... I still was competing with you, essentially. But that would begin to change in the next tournament. A few months later, Syracuse hosted Laserforce Internationals 2016. Was this with Caleb's car or with Sergeant Tucker's car? Okay.
This was with Caleb's car.
Yeah. So we pile into Caleb's car that he wasn't allowed to drive yet.
So he was 15. Yep.
I think it was like Sergeant Tucker and you and me all took turns driving like 22 hours across the country to upstate New York.
35, buddy.
Really? I'm going to Google Maps that. Dude, that car ride took forever. What are you...
Yeah, it was the toll roads.
Give me the deets.
Blew our minds.
The toll roads, yeah.
Yeah. Tough on the brain.
It's somewhat intentional that we have just you and I talking about this today. If we got the sides of the stories from all the players who were in each of these stories, like we would be going on for literally like 10 to 12 hours. There's so much packed into each of these.
For this tournament, we were having trouble getting 6 together, and our lovely Ace Knight from Utah volunteered to play with us, and I think we were originally going to pick up Shayla from My Little Pony from
Yeah, I think
Detroit.
so.
And then when we got there, I remember My Little Pony had to play for a different team because someone went to the hospital. I don't remember who it was.
I'll find it.
Somebody got stupidly sick, so Shayla filled in for them, and then we ended up picking up Noob Terrence on the right.
Mm-hmm. Here, I'm gonna try to configure something where you can see stats as well that I'm pulling up. But yeah,
this was a very hard tournament for me.
Tell me more.
I was just terrible. I was constantly not in the right position for the arena. I was trying to play every arena like we play in Loveland, and it was not working. You would be surprised to find out that you can't play in every arena exactly the same way. You kind of have to adjust to what the arena needs. Like sometimes you have to look up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sometimes the resupply are very far away from each other.
I would agree with you. This was an eye-opening tournament, to say the least. A lot of basics about SM5 were taught to us, and we were able to begin getting those foundational building blocks that we really needed. Okay, she played 11 games for Syracuse B, My Little Pony did.
Was it Smorgasborgus that got sick?
Potentially. I don't know. There's a lot of mercs on here.
I don't remember. The things I do remember from that tournament are a little dark.
For sure. And, you know, there are lots of people who were there that you're able to talk about why that Nats was canceled, unfortunately. So feel free to ask. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you.
It's not one we're going to tell on this podcast either.
But was this couple more important things? Is this the place that the road trip where you got hit by a sign falling off of a gas station?
Yeah, we were driving through the tornado warning in Nebraska.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm following our road here. Somewhere around Julesburg or Ogallala. Like, we stopped at a gas station. There was straight up, like, subway. The sky was pitch black. There was intense wind, and there was a tornado warning. And we were just like, well, we can't be late like last time, so we're just going to keep driving.
Can't be late like last time. Because last time was rough because we were late.
Gosh, we got to get some practice games in this time. We can't lose.
They're going to start without us.
So you were sitting outside of a Subway just eating your happy little footlong, and this sign came off of the roof of the building and landed like right next to you.
Oh, it was worse than that, Luke.
Did it hit
worse
you?
Than that. It was a piece of sheet metal that got ripped off of the roof, and it hit me in the face.
Oh,
took my sandwich out of my hands.
Gosh, dude. I can't see the scar on you in this picture.
Oh, there's no scar. It just smacked me in the face.
And he didn't even scar. Look at that, folks.
I know. The Subway people were so nice to me after that. They were like, here's a free sandwich, here's a free drink, please don't sue me.
And you were like, I can't sue you. I got to go play laser tag.
I don't have time for this.
So we drove on through Nebraska. I definitely was looking for every bridge that we were passing under in case I had to pull over somewhere. But we did not get carried away. Somewhere around...
Well, we were carried away.
Somewhere around Indiana, we stopped at an Amish village to get gas, and we all had our hair dyed different colors.
They were not fans.
That was a fun one.
That was Ohio.
Ohio, you think? Think it was in Ohio? Probably was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Ohio.
Yeah,
because
probably here-ish.
Every single person in that town was staring at us.
Yeah. Did we mention it was Sergeant Tucker and Slaughtermelon that came with us? So it was just the four of us.
We showed the picture, but yeah.
Asen, well, this isn't on video. It's a podcast.
Oh, this is for listening.
That's too much video editing for me. Well,
sorry, folks. Not able to. I've been describing pictures to you that you can't see.
So yeah, this tournament for me, you know, we stuck with you heavy, me commander for a while, but this was finally, I think, where we had to finally put the team first and stop thinking about what, at least for me, stop thinking about what I wanted. We had some disagreements, you and I. You were, I mean, you're going through a bit of a rough time, and I had to actually bench you. I went and I asked Beans if I could bench you because you were having some trouble pretty much playing out.
You don't have to sugarcoat it, Luke. I was being a huge bitch.
I'll tell. I don't sugarcoat it to your face, but I don't usually like to tell people's business on air that much. I'd like it to come from you, honestly. Why don't you tell it?
I was freaking out. I was having an existential crisis. My girlfriend at the time was not happy that I was in New York and not hanging out with her.
Mm-hmm.
And there was discourse everywhere. I was very upset with my circumstances. I felt like other people were the problem, and at the time I was actually homeless, so that was exciting. We went through some transitionary periods since then, but like everything kind of boiled to a point where I was getting really mad. And I do think that like this tournament was kind of bad for me in a lot of ways. I definitely saw other people behaving in ways that I absolutely would condemn now. But at that point in time, I was 19 and I was pretty impressionable. These were a lot of people that I looked up to in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And they made some choices that made me think that certain types of behaviors were okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I made some people feel like garbage at this event, especially Noob. I was pretty mean to him. But if you look at the stats, you'll notice that I was actually the worst player on our team by like a mile. It was bad. By the time finals rolled around, I had kind of been. I had to let a lot of that stuff go in order to like put my heart into it and to try not to let the people down who I have been playing with and practicing with this entire time, right? I had a lot of thoughts and feelings about like not ruining the trip for you guys, even though I totally made that a mess.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think this is where our friendship really sprouted. This is part of the beauty of Space Marines 5, that we went out there. We were kids. I don't care. I think you were legally a kid. Me and Joe were legally adults, but man, we were not. We were new to the scene. We were barely here. Everyone who'd been playing had been playing longer than us, pretty much. And we were here to play. We wanted to become better. It sucked to lose, and we won 3 total games in round play this tournament. We were trying out all kinds of roles. We had some Sergeant Tucker on commander. We had Slaughtermelon playing some. I mean, Slaughtermelon played mostly of our commander games. He played 15. I didn't remember that. and I was mainly playing Scout. But just in trying all these different lineups and trying to work together, eventually Thunder and some other people pull us into the back room, and they sit us down and they tell us, you're not good enough to try advanced strategies. You need to play the basics. And they just laid out the basics for us. And somewhere in there, we finally tried a new lineup where I was on heavy weapons. And you were commander, I think, with Slaughtermelon on Scout, Sergeant Tucker and Ace on Resupply. And we found a really good spot for Noob to play kind of like an area control Scout. And he was really starting to shine and come together. We were able, I think, to take 4th in this tournament, where we had previously been. Now we had some teams leave, but we were much more likely to have taken 5th or 6th with the way we've been playing all that week. These games are not available for looking at. Apparently.
Tournament was canceled by then.
They could have still uploaded the games. Gosh.
Jerks. Yeah, it was tough. It was also the middle of summer in Syracuse, New York, which, contrary to popular belief, is not cold all year long. It actually gets very, very hot in Syracuse in the summer. For a Colorado boy like me. The California people would have been fine, but I was sweating.
Interesting. I don't remember that detail.
You remember it being hot? Oh my goodness. I remember us walking outside, going up the hill, trying to get to the subway.
Mm-hmm.
Sweating the whole way. This is kind of when our friendship started, because I met you when I was in high school.
And I don't remember it.
It's all right.
Sorry. Josiah totally walked up to me, said hi to me, and I was not into it, apparently. I don't remember this encounter ever happening.
Well, I mean, I was a customer at LLT before that. I had come in and play it on some of the Friday nights that you were working.
Oh, really?
And I remember one specific thing where you tried to pull me aside to get me to play with a card. You were
Really?
like, you need to have levels. And I was like, levels are stupid. I won't do it.
Oh my gosh, I bet I did. That was one of my biggest pet peeves, is when people who were good were not using their cards. You, Veer Turkey, come on.
I was 13, leave me alone.
We all start somewhere. Ooh, this was a nice heavy game from you. Anyway, we only had like a few good games, and we ended up, sorry, Evil and Cody, we ended up beating the Syracuse B team in an upset in finals. And then the C team came in and whooped us. And that was partially the beginning of our 3-hit synergy as well, where I began to play a lot more heavy weapons, and you began playing more commander.
Part of the reason we sucked is because we never played together. In practice, we always practiced against each other.
Mm-hmm. That was part of it for sure. And it was big for me personally, because I had this huge thing with my ego about I need to be playing commander, or I think I was pretty upset that I was playing scout most of this tournament, to be honest, with Caleb on commander. But
you were the captain of this one.
It's just weird. I remember playing more commander. But anyway, me going on heavy was me taking on a huge responsibility and doing a job that I felt to be kind of I didn't really want to do it that much, but the team needs me to do it. And it was actually good. And you know what, Josiah? Winning felt better than playing the role that I wanted. So I tended to stick with it after that.
Yeah, it was tough out there. There was a lot of rage. Joe was pretty pissed too. Sergeant Tucker. mad.
Yeah, I mean, good.
He died every game.
Yeah.
In the one game he would have survived, I friendly fired him out for a reset.
Oh my goodness. I didn't
I
know
know.
that.
I know.
You're a monster.
I know. Scumbag move.
Mm-hmm. I want to give a
That's
huge...
okay. He's a medic. It's his job to die.
And he was young too, you know, he was learning the nuances of that role, and I imagine it was really hard for him because he didn't have as much power to change the outcome of all the bad decisions we were making. As the medic, you gotta just, like, if your team is not working together well, there's so much that's out of your control. But
I remember the first round we all had blinders on. Couldn't see anything.
yeah. I was saying, I want to really thank Ace and Noob for playing with us that tournament. They were such an asset, and honestly, like, two of the better players on the team. I'm definitely finding a lot of games here where Noob is like the top scoring scout, just finding the resets. And he was young and new at the game too, right? Like, he was right in the same boat as us. But especially Ace, it takes a really special person, like a lot of maturity, to be willing to play with a new team, to be willing to play on a team where you're going to place lower and teach some people some things. So thank you so much for that, Ace. I think we all learned a lot from you.
Shout out Ace. Like and subscribe.
And I think he got another
gave us
sportsmanship
some
that year.
bad habits for the next couple of years.
Oh my gosh. We're remembering this very differently. What did he teach us?
That is where I learned how to moon people.
Oh my gosh. For the record, I've only mooned one person.
I think he mooned every person on this team. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're talking outside of the arena habits.
Yeah. Otherwise, he showed us so many cool things about how to play resupply and how to play around your resupply. Resetting shields, doing sneaky trick plays, shooting your medic before the other person comes in and shoots your medic.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot going on that Ace playing ammo really helped us out in. Honestly, if I could do it all over again, I would probably put Ace on commander.
Probably would have been the best move.
He was the best player on that team, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is going to continue to be a theme in the next tournament as well. We were really eager for us to become the better players on every team that we played on. So we would consistently put good players in supporting roles so that we could get all the juicy experience. But I think this tournament, 2016, was really, I think, especially beneficial for Sergeant Tucker because he just pretty much got to be mentored by Ace that whole time.
This was the tournament that Slaughtermelon changed his name to Offset, right? Or was he still Rainbow Panther?
It says that he was Slaughtermelon, and I think it kept the original names because it says that I'm Rosie.
No, you used a different card.
I think I was still Rosie at the time. That was like one of the first times I was.
When was he Offset?
I don't know. It might have been between the tournaments.
If we can just go over every single one of Slaughtermelon's different names, that'd be great.
Completely agree. But let's keep this train moving. We had another year, I think. Let's see. It wasn't this. Another year later, we got to go out and play in Sacramento Internationals 2017. I think our friendship had really solidified. We were much more coming in as a duo's 3-hit partner that year. That was the idea. We had
I remember the moment we actually became friends was I gave you a hug, and it was the first time you would have ever like
I'd ever been hugged.
received a hug from a dude and not thought it was gay.
It's true, man. And you had to put up with some really weird, like I had a super weird aversion to male platonic affection for a while there. And you were one of the biggest driving forces to help me out of it. And to be quite honest, I have taken on your role in my life with many people where like I can tell they're uncomfortable, and I intentionally start pushing their buttons and boundaries a little bit, not in a inappropriate way, but like, you know, I am totally going to come in close. I'm going to touch your shoulder. I'm going to get some eye contact, bro. I'm going to give you that hug, bro.
I can love you without wanting to be intimate with you, you know?
Absolutely. That is I mean, if you want to go on the mental health tangent rabbit hole, like that's actually a somewhat common experience for a lot of men. Young boys get hugged so much less than young girls. Just, you know, in general, as they get older, like that's the public stereotype. Boys are definitely more void of affection or taught not to show it. And I had fallen in that boat a bit.
I run into it basically every day in my life, and I'm always like, come on, bring it in.
So thank you for pursuing me in that way. Now, 2017, we came out. I remember we came out to this tournament with some actual hope that we were going to do better.
Oh, we felt like hot shit because we took fourth.
Yeah, we had taken fourth, and we were like, we're actually going to be one of the better teams finally. We got Slaughtermelon. We had Phantom. We had the Graken, who was a home site player, and Crypt from St. George, those two subbing for our team. And you were the captain this time. You want to relay us the game plan of what you were thinking coming into this?
I had a lot of regrets coming out of Sacramento. First of all, very cool arena. They had a gigantic dragon overlooking a courtyard, like a mural.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 2-story arena with 3 different towers, and they all were connected by little bridges. There were 2 ramps that led up into the second floor, and it played with a little bit of the Loveland element, where if you push the team downstairs, they're pretty screwed. The problem was that it kind of catered to a lot of different play styles, so we were having a hard time again with the organization. Like, there was a lot of really harsh situations where people would just get isolated and then just beat up. We weren't communicating super well. It was a lot of talking and not a lot of listening, and I put the 2 players who I should not have put on resupply. And if you can guess, based on the context from our last tournament, it was the Graken and Crypt. Grak was playing medic for us, and Crypt was playing ammo. And if I could take it all back, I would have Grak be playing scout, and I would have Crypt be playing commander, for sure. With myself and Phantom playing resupply. That would be what I did different. It was tough, though. We got there, we practiced a little bit, and this tournament, we were definitely a little bit more fun to be around, I think, because we weren't screaming at each other the whole time.
Yeah, kinda.
There was, I mean, better than 2016.
Better, but for sure.
It had a steep decline towards like day 3. You got sick, and it was just a mess. The St. George hybrid team that formed with Syracuse took 3rd, I think, and Crypt. I don't know if he was just like, I'm not really sure what his specific situation was, right? But he wasn't on that team, so he was feeling kind of pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I came into this tournament feeling like hot shit again. This is going to be a common theme until probably like 2019. I felt like I could take on anyone, even though there were some big fish here. This was our first time playing against Taipan.
Mm-hmm.
And my first time playing against Rusty. At this point in time, Phantom, Slaughtermelon, I think you all had more Nats experience than me at this point, and I was just not able to listen to you guys at all about things that you guys wanted or wanted to be done differently. We had some good games, but for the most part, we were pretty solidly last place.
Mm-hmm. We won 4 games this tournament.
Hey, that's a record
But
at this point.
I
right?
do absolutely want to point out the highlight where we beat St. Q's, the 3rd place team, with the Crypt Commander, which evidence we should have kept that.
Yeah. The keys were in the zone. We could have done it, but we chose not to. I don't remember tons of details from this tournament. I mostly remember you guys all brought extra pairs of pants because we were making fun of Rusty. I remember we had all the short shorts, and you guys all brought pants, and I was the only one with short shorts. And Slaughtermelon thought it would be funny to buy me girl shorts, so that's what I wore that day.
I think we were all supposed to be wearing girls' short shorts.
Well, some of you made some choices.
Yeah. Well, the team photo we have here, Grack designed us some really awesome Loveland Wildcats jerseys. That was our team name. So we all got that on. And we all got some different colored short athletic shorts. And we all wore them on the first day or final day or something. I remember that Phantom wanted us to walk in with like a boombox. I forget what they wanted us to play.
X gonna give it to you.
X gonna give it to you. X gonna give you the victory. That's what we were gonna give you.
X gonna give you the victory. That is exactly what we went in and did.
Mm-hmm.
We went into finals. I remember everyone was really stressed out. You were still sick, and we immediately lost to Brisbane because Brisbane was the first place team.
Yeah, you want to see this stat? Here we are. Oh yeah. Hey, you got 4.5K on them. I remember you talking about how you would go in and get them all down by yourself, and then Rusty would do the same thing to us, and we would lose.
The problem that I was experiencing was even if I would get Taipan down on the 1 in 10 times I tried, maybe more than that, I would get him down once. I would go in, I'd shoot everybody. They would make these things called trails, all right? Now,
crazy.
Space Marines players are pretty familiar with the backtrack, but for those of you at home that have no idea, if you get blasted, your pack lights turn off. You can run away, and I can only run after you for about 10 feet or 3 meters. And this arena really caters to players who are willing to do that. If you move and you kind of like push them in a little area, it's only temporary because that heavy's going to come up soon and is going to blast you. And Taipan was pretty good about making sure that even if I got him down once, he would keep me down for the rest of my life for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Taipan was a menace that tournament for sure. I mean, there were a lot of really incredible teams here.
I felt like this was actually one of your better early tournaments. You were able to take control over, what do they call it? The hill?
Yeah. Yeah, it was fine. Felt very in the open. I preferred the other side a little more, honestly. The one with the 2 directions.
With mountains, yeah.
Yeah. And I could make that jump shot into heavy standing on the hill. which is pretty fun.
It's awesome.
That was one of the big things. Like, this was one of the most important tournaments for me personally, because Thunder, once again, like, Thunder was really helpful for all three of those first, like, big tournaments, or a number of times. But Thunder brought me into the arena, and Tragedy was playing heavy weapons for one of the games, and Thunder pointed out to me what Tragedy was doing with trails, and that's when I learned how to utilize backtracking to protect my resupply as a heavy. That whole idea that you can move forward, get tagged down, and run away, and the enemy commander can't really come in without giving you a free shot on them, that obviously changed the whole way I play, not just heavy in any arena, but the Loveland arena in particular. We'll see coming up after that. But ultimately, yeah, we won 4 games. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, this one spiked a little bit of depression. I remember the drive back was pretty quiet compared to the drive out.
Yeah, we wanted to be better, and we weren't. And by this point, you know,
it's hard.
This point, like 3 years, felt like a long time to not be getting better. We were. It's just other people were too.
They started better.
They started earlier, generally.
They also had people teaching them how to play.
Right.
We had other sites sparingly teaching us how to play, dropping little nuggets of information, and we were just pining for it.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of our salts will come out at different points during this this podcast for sure. It was not fun to be the new site, and no one told us that they recruited sites often. I just sort of assumed that since they came out and recruited us, that this was something they do on a regular basis. But turns out we're still pretty much the newest site in the tournament scene, even to this day, to like consistently be coming out. And so no one was going to come and be a lower ranking team than us for pretty much the rest of our time there. We had to actually claw our way up, or some sites were trending down for different reasons too. But this tournament, yeah, like amazing arena, still building on the building blocks. The truth is that even if we could have put Crypt and Grak onto the roles they should have been on, Luke at the time would have scolded you for it, because I wanted us 4 to get experience on the roles that we were actually going to play. At this point, I think I was starting to get the idea that at some point we'll get to host Nats again, and we'll get to be, we'll be better this time for it.
Sergeant Tucker felt so bad that he wasn't at this tournament. He was texting and calling us every night.
Yeah.
Telling us the scoreboard perspective. Talking about things that we need to shore up.
Absolutely. Yeah, he wanted to be there, and he was still very involved. But, nope, it's a quiet drive back.
This tournament was rough, actually. I remember we played a game where Scythe was injured. Scythe is the best player in the United States. You heard it here. He ran into a pole or something. Maybe it was a pipe, and just like messed something up in his knee, or maybe it was his hand. But I remember we were winning the game in the middle of the game, and then my brain shut off and I started lizard braining. But I came out of the game and we had lost.
Is this the one?
And I looked at the scoreboard, and Scythe had scored 14,000 points on our face.
Yep, here it is. You see it?
Oh, I see it. And it still fills me with the same feelings of just like disdain.
Only 3 missiles. Halfway to his 6th nuke.
Yep. We were just feeding the wall.
Scythe is a legend. And Noob came back and dunked on our face quite a bit there too. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we deserved it. After 2016, I deserved it anyways.
Yeah. Scythe was crazy.
Is crazy.
Is
Still
crazy.
probably is.
Still is crazy. That day was crazy. 3 months later, we come on back, collect ourselves, and we travel out to Detroit. Revolution laser tag for an East Coast tournament, which at the time, these East and West Coast tournaments pretty much felt and were run like a Nats, just without the officiality of it. Kind of kept our same synergy. Slaughtermelon couldn't make it out this time. We had Dr. Feelgood, Mimasaurus, now known as Simply Okay, and Sergeant Tucker back with pint size.
Yeah, I think he was failing. I think he was failing biology.
Oh, come on. You gotta pass biology if you want to be a good Space Marine.
You have to pass biology if you want to be a good Space Marine. This was fun. This was Mimasaurus and Dr. Feelgood's first tournament.
Yeah.
They were fine. It wasn't great, you know. Obviously the circumstances were kind of mid. I remember this was the tournament where we ate like an entire month's worth of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because the tire came off in Nebraska.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So this was Sergeant Tucker's car again. Thank you, Sergeant Tucker, for lending us your car. And the tire literally came off the car.
Loose lug nuts.
I'd like to thank my mom for talking me out of renting a truck where we would have had our luggage out in the open on the back. Just bad
Shout out
skills.
to Luke's mom.
We rented a smaller car and got to Detroit on almost no sleep. Death to All brought us into his house, I believe.
Yep.
And we got
this
2 hours
is the
of
tournament
sleep.
you guys met my biological father.
That's right. We had to stay overnight while we got the car situation figured out.
Yep. And we were thinking about turning around. He kept telling us, Joe, Rachel's waiting.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we got to meet that whole side of your family.
Yeah, they're fun.
And he wanted to steal a tire for us. Just gonna hop into a junkyard and get it.
Yep, he was just gonna go grab one. Yoink.
Yeah.
In case you all want to know where I get it from, it's that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Pint Size helped us out a lot. Really, she was teaching us how to play Detroit in general.
Yeah.
But she definitely got a lot of time with Sergeant Tucker to like really guide him into playing more passive, not as panicky. We had tons of really good doubles. The problem, Luke, with this team was we had no idea how to play the long game. So we would go into these games and we would try to kill the enemy team instead of trying to score more points than them.
Mm-hmm.
And when we tried to score more points than them, it ended up working a little bit better for us when we actually like had a plan. We had a schematic of what we wanted to do. I remember Simply Okay was having a lot of success when he was given direct instruction about how to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I also remember it was over Halloween, so there was like a bunch of people in costume. I think one of the Detroit A members was dressed up as Diva and didn't even play in the tournament, but was playing Dance Dance Revolution the whole time in the Diva costume.
Forgot about that.
Forgot about the DDR culture. How could you?
Totally forgot it, but yeah, it was there. They had a nice arcade out in the lobby. It was a good site. I really love Detroit, the arena, it's just the play style. I got to captain that one, so we were pretty locked into our roles the whole time. There wasn't really much shifting around. Tucker on medic with pint-sized ammo, me on heavy, you commander, and our two new shooty boys, Mimosaurus and Dr. Feelgood on scout. We planted Mimosaurus in the tower, and he did great. He was just a reset machine. Newer at the game, but one of our best up-and-coming players. Like, I was really excited to have him out there. And I was doing some more weird stuff with Dr. Feelgood, putting him in the back corner, having him run up the enemy ramp. And how did you feel that tournament playing Commander?
We got absolutely pooped on that entire event. The only team we were able to beat was the Detroit B team.
Yep.
And yeah, what really saved us from the Merc team was one of their best players had an asthma attack, like a severe asthma attack, and had to go to the hospital. So we ended up scraping some extra game. We ended up scraping it together in finals because a team was able to beat their team instead of the other way around.
I didn't know about the asthma attack, to be honest. I attributed that to Rhea absolutely coming in and saving that Detroit B team. Remember how like they were starting to get really demoralized, people didn't want to play anymore, and Rhea wasn't even originally playing in the tournament?
Death to All was about to just forfeit the rest of the games. And then Rhea was like, no, that's stupid. Let him play.
Well, Rhea jumped in and beat the Merc team on that.
Yeah,
Detroit
they came
B
out.
team.
They came out and gave them hell, and then we met up with them in finals. Managed to claw our way past them. I think we lost one of the games actually.
We won them both, but they got close on one of them. There was potentially a nuke cancel, if I'm remembering correctly.
I don't remember.
I'll figure it out. Yeah, the Mercs.
I hope they didn't.
The Mercs dropped us into the losers bracket immediately.
Punched us right in the face.
Oh, this says that the Mercs won the Detroit match. But they should have won. It must have been a penalty thing. But yeah, Detroit knocked the Mercs down. We beat Detroit both games because that was the only team we could beat all tournament. We were doing better. Oh, I got killed out early. That must have been what happened. Yeah, I got killed out early, and you guys still won that game against the Detroit in finals.
Probably barely.
Yeah,
sounds
barely.
Rough.
By 3K we won, and then the second game we beat them by a whole 10K, almost an elimination bonus. And then we clawed our way past Syracuse, which we hadn't been able to defeat all tournament. They won the first game. We won the second game by one. We won the match by 1,400 points. That red game we played was just phenomenal. Mimosaurus would have got a 7K scout score if he had gotten both bases. You got a 10K commander.
I remember you had a penalty that got rescinded because Fox said it was fine.
Yeah, I do have a penalty right here. So, yep. Now, man, a couple things for me on this tournament. I felt like I was really coming into my own as a heavy. I even had some good memories. We never came close to defeating the Detroit A team, but I was having some good heavy games against Micro, who was trying to break in, trying to like charge in with his scout, and I was learning how to do. You remember how I used to have that shot where I would crunch my side and like give myself a like break my back basically, but I had that quick shot I was developing, and I was using trails. That was when I started to develop that shot. and you just seemed like you were becoming a total menace out there on the field. This was the tournament. This was the tournament where I got tons of penalties. I got the penalty award, and
yes, the dirty cheat.
And I'm gonna be honest, this is where I develop a bit of that opinion where I think newer players get targeted for penalties, because yeah, I got some of those wrong. Yes, I had some very funny ones where I chased someone, ran backwards on my trail, and then tried to shoot them. Yep, I know, I deserved a lot of them. But some of them were, I wasn't cheating, but just on principle. They were like, we don't do that here. Or, nope, there's no way you could have made that shot. Specifically, like, I was like leaning out of windows to shoot people on the first floor, and they're like, there's no possible way that shot's legal. You can't do that. But it definitely was. But I just kind of smiled and acted like the new kid and got the award.
This tournament, I remember being pretty tilted, because what I would do is I would go to the top of their ramp, I would push their resupply or their heavy, and I would separate them, so their resupply would be on one side of the ramp and then their heavy would be on the other side of the ramp. I would make a trail into the resupply, and then I would just burn lives trying to like get damage done on the back line, which did a couple things right. It forced the heavy to be back, and it was interrupting a lot of doubles. But it also took me out of the field. So this,
yeah, that might have. Yeah, see, like you said earlier, I think one big thing we learned is hit diff versus killing the medic. We only understood that Space Marines was won by killing the medic because of the arena we've come from. In Detroit, it's a very different game.
yeah, I was not scoring a lot of points. Not until later. And even then, it still wasn't a lot of points in the grand scheme of things.
So those were definitely, to me, they feel like, that feels like the conclusion of the first chapter in Loveland. After that, we started to have some really cool things happen back at home. So 2018, we hosted a West Coast tournament. Maybe I can find that team real quick, because there's a lot of cool stuff here. So we finally got to host another tournament, and we have pretty much not been able to win anything. So we put together our first like full strength Loveland A team. And you were the captain on this one. Remember the process for this?
Yeah, this tournament was win or die. We were pretty pissed that we were bad for so long, and we were feeling the need to prove ourselves really loudly. We didn't practice a whole lot for this. A lot of what we were doing was just like having the B team play against the C team over and over again for practice to like get them warmed up, but they were having some of their own issues. This team, I pulled on a 7th, and our boy the Rat was our 7th, and we played a lot of like competitive games leading up to this. We were doing tons of like the seasons and stuff like that to try and like prep ourselves to be able to handle higher level games. We had 3 teams at this event, and our boy the Rat, shout out the Rat, was the captain of the C team after the C team fell apart the first time.
You're right. I found like the original C team here had Bromatized and Phantom and Loki. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Loki was just subbing in, but I remember. Oh, what was the numbers? What was Mason's numbers? I don't remember.
Mass 5534.
That kid was gonna be goated with the sauce for sure.
So we were putting together 3 teams. We had a lot of players starting to get good, play on our members' nights. We were starting to actually know a little bit of what we were doing.
Eventually, I think halfway through practicing for this event, which was only over the course of a month and a half, we had to restructure the teams because a lot of people weren't getting along. And then I know that we had Zenless dropped. Zenless wasn't sure if she was going to be able to play the tournament. And so
that's not. Oh, right.
So
they ended up playing.
We picked up Hot Tamales and just started practicing with her. And Zenless came back, played for the B team, which ended up being awesome.
Yeah.
Our B team this event was really competitive with the other top 2 teams that showed up. The other top 2 teams being the Detroit Super Hybrid with Chula Vista and Utah.
Mm-hmm.
They had Snuffles, Cayman, Kodama.
Yeah, this was Snuffles' first tournament, I think.
Yep. And then we had Brew, Scythe. What was his code name? Noob's brother? What was Noob's brother's name?
Terrence. Or Terrell. Sorry.
Terrence is Noob. But Terrell's code name, what was Terrell's code name?
Try Harder.
I don't remember. Try Harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. Try Harder, Scythe, Snuffles, first appearance. And yeah, Snuffles talked about how this tournament gave him the fire to get better. Man, if this team came out to Loveland today, they would be goated with the sauce, dude.
Yeah. they'd still be good. Our team was kind of, we were still really fragile as far as our mental went. It was pretty easy for us to get mad over stuff, but it turns out when you're winning basically every game, it's really easy to not freak out.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, crazy how that happens. We obliterated basically everyone. The B team pulled a weird win on us where, so the first game, I remember, I think this was either round 2 or 3. They voted to do a third round, by the way. Don't ever do that. Not in the middle of the tournament. Just play out the schedule. If you want to do a third round, vote before the event. The main issue that we ran into during that event is our heavies in both games did not get enough resupplies in the beginning of the game. We just didn't know how much resupplies you were supposed to get in the beginning, which is kind of a minute detail when you're considering the grand scheme of things. But we didn't transition our resupplies very well to the top floor, and they abused it. They sent in their most aggressive heavy every time and sent in their commander. The first game they killed you out, and we
won
barely. We barely scraped a win out because Slaughtermelon and Ivy were good enough on Scout that when you died, they just kind of both teamed up and protected the resupply together. And when they did that, I was able to just kind of overpower the B team.
Mm-hmm. By the way,
and then in the second game, yeah,
we didn't say our lineup for this tournament.
Oh yeah, this is a mystery lineup. We have Hot Tamales, myself, and Luke, obviously. But we had the Rat as our 7th, and Slaughtermelon, Sergeant Tucker, and Ivy.
Ivy and
Hot Tamales
Slaughtermelon.
actually played really well.
Yeah, Hot Tamales and Sergeant Tucker were our resupply. Ivy and Slaughtermelon were our scouts. You were commander the whole tournament. I was heavy the whole tournament. Death Spot, the Rat, could sub in as our scout. But that was the lineup. Go ahead.
I remember we were kind of struggling, just keeping our heads cool, because when you died, Caleb wanted a crack at it. He said, I can do it better. And you were offended. Super mad. And when we got into that game, Caleb died early. And I remember trying to talk to you guys and be like, okay, this is what we need to do. And right after I finished talking, everybody just went and did their own thing.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
I think you actually had a really good game, though. I remember Simply Okay and Beater and Brahmatized and Zenless just freaking out because they finally took a game off of us and they felt so good about it. And props to them, like, they killed our heavy out twice in a row. Like, we were clearly doing something wrong and they saw it.
Gotta credit Dr. Feelgood. He would play Magic the Gathering black style, and regardless of how low he was on lives, as long as he was mutualing with you, he would bring you low on lives as well and threaten to kill you out of the game, which did make me panic. I like having my lives.
Yeah, lives are good.
So at the very least in our game, we pushed them downstairs, and I blame Gen 7 because I didn't know how many lives I had on a little touchscreen. So how was I supposed to know? You want me to count my lives? That's crazy. Who does that?
Or could have just listened to it. It did tell you how many lives you had.
I wasn't expecting Nemosaurus to drop a double nuke after their team got pushed downstairs. He had an incredible game, and that killed me out. But yeah, you're right. You can even tell in the victory photo, like, the dysfunction was just widespread on this team. Ivy was clearly not happy to be playing with certain people on the team. Slaughtermelon was taking your medic hits constantly and didn't care if you were supposed to be getting points or not for your nukes. He was just like openly resetting you for his own points and gains. I was abandoning the resupply constantly.
He was trying really hard to win overall MVP from Scout, and credit to him, he almost did it because of the rapid fire stuff, because he would just stack like 6 rapid fires and then go to the resupply and just use them all.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of ego on this team, honestly.
Oh, we were super full of ourselves. We were also super broke. We had to front the bill for all the trophies, and we didn't have enough money to get first place through third place. So we were stuck on just first place trophies and then all the MVP prizes.
Yeah, and we wanted a freaking trophy. And I do want to say, we were tested at the very end because in finals, Distachula took a game off of us.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Brew played an incredible heavy, kept us out. Go ahead.
Scythe pooped on us too. It was both. Brew did great.
Yeah, we don't have the games from that, but they took the first game. And I remember going outside with you, and we were like, should we switch the lineup? Should we put you on heavy or and throw Caleb on commander? And that lineup probably would have won it too, but we had learned to stop freaking out and changing things in finals after our first
based on one loss
3 or 4 years. So we said, nope, we've been dominant, let's run it back. And it was a super quick victory. I run upstairs, I trade with Scythe. You immediately push up behind them, get all their attention. I push in, push them downstairs, and the game was over. There was no recovery for them after that.
Yeah. They lost like 8 lives from their medic on the way downstairs because Slaughtermelon was just waiting for them at the bottom of the ramp.
Nom 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 nom.
Nom 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 nom.
So that was a benchmark for us, and this was also kind of the mark of the beginning of the seasons for us. So I have lots of pictures here that just Loveland began doing seasons. We did 5 seasons over the next like 2 years, I think.
Oh, look at young Ben.
Yeah, we have, just some players need to be shouted out. These players have been part of the story. Loki had been there since the beginning. While he couldn't play in any of the traveling tournaments, he had always been there and had the most games by far of any player. His friend Raiden GL was right there with him. Those 2 guys were like our stable adult figures through these years, and we owe them a lot of credit. We got Izzy, your friend who you brought in, and he ended up doing some traveling. A young Ghost.
I love that, man.
Oh, I love
Young Ghost.
Jarrett Brahmatized. Brahmatized had a fun story in 2018 because he was originally on the C team and he hated every minute of it. But we kept telling him, nah, bro, keep playing.
Brahmatized was already good enough to play on the B team at that point, but putting him on the C team was going to make him crazy good. And he did not believe us.
Mm-hmm. But because he did it, he forced himself to be good enough to play heavy for the B team in those final games, I think.
I think they were all tired. They didn't even play through finals. They just all agreed to tie for 3rd.
That's right. Yes, they did. Let's see. Yeah, so lots of great players. Feeder was still around. We had Swagstar 55.
I like me some Swagstar 55.
Let's see. You had a very dominant season in season 4. That finals game between you and Simply OK's team. Remember that season?
Yep, 63 points.
Yeah.
Or something.
It was 1 penalty decided everything, I think.
Yeah, that was when we had to battle against the staff team.
Mm-hmm.
Who proceeded to be awesome, basically in all facets.
Yeah.
They were very free flowing, so like people could kind of play whatever, and they had like pretty consistent showings out of everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those seasons were pretty memorable. And I don't want to move on from don't want to forget that you went to Brisbane that year, 2018, as well.
I think that was the year that oh, you just lagged like crazy. I didn't hear you at all.
Oh, dude, yeah, I was saying we shouldn't forget Brisbane. You went out to Brisbane that year.
Yeah, just me. I was completely delusional at that time. Went out there, had the pleasure of playing with the Brisbane D team, who I was very mean to for essentially no reason. They were one of the most hospitable people I've ever encountered, and I treated them like garbage.
Any idea why?
I was just mad. My girlfriend had committed suicide, so I was pretty like unable to regulate my emotions, and it is really easy to be a sore loser when you think that you are really good. All of those things kind of come together into a very pointy spearhead, and you end up just treating people like garbage.
I see. Yeah, that was it seemed like a significant trip for you. You stayed out there a while and you seemed to make some deep connections with a lot of the players.
Uh, this is that entire situation going out there and just like being exposed to a new world was very weird for me. Tragedy, I got to stay at Tragedy's house with Cayman, so Kodama, and we did a lot of things. We did a lot of things. We went to the zoo. That was really cool. I got Kodama drunk for his first time
Woo!
because the legal drinking age is much lower in Australia. We got to have some fun. I remember Taipan being the coolest guy I had ever like interacted with outside of. I won't say the coolest guy. I'll say he understood me probably more than I even understood myself at that time. He recognized a lot of the situations that I was getting into and was like, you can stop anytime. And to be honest, like the friendship that I developed with him is it's hard to describe. I care so much about that man. I love him. He is very important to me. And in a lot of situations that I've experienced first of all, he shaped a lot of the way that I started approaching Loveland after that tournament. He had this really in-depth talk with me about how I, as an individual, am okay at laser tag. Like, I'm okay. The place that I play at is what's considered a little pond. And when you're a decent sized fish in a little pond, it's easy to feel really big. But the reality is that Loveland as a site was still very immature and did not have very good talent cultivation. And as a team, we were bad. And we were going to stay bad until we made changes. And I made a conscious decision after I came back from this event to really start trying to teach people how to play, as opposed to like throwing them into games and like expecting them to learn. Does that make sense?
Yeah. From my perspective, you were going through a lot, obviously. You went out to that tournament and you came back from a gameplay perspective. I felt you had leveled up. I have no way to describe it except you were just doing a lot of really weird stuff. And it seemed weird to me because it was just outside of my ability to conceptualize it. I didn't experience everything you had just experienced. Like you had gotten taught and poured into and exposed to so much incredible talent and knowledge. And you had a lot of big ideas. But yeah, you also spoke so highly about Taipan for a while there. I mean, you didn't stop or anything. It did seem like he had a huge impact on you.
He still does. I love that man. He's also someone who experiences really strong emotions and just like really big feelings. And it's him having a little bit of experience with that stuff actually really helped guide me into places where I am now. Just not that I'm perfect. I still have those big feelings and sometimes I fall victim to them, but like I have a lot more forgiveness for myself in general. And I have a lot more, understanding for other people when they're in those heightened emotional states. And I think a lot of that comes from Taipan. Just a lot of the mercy and the unconditional love that he showed me while I was out there. And that stuff doesn't go away.
It's honestly a good segue because I think around this time there did seemed to become a sense that, and maybe it was partially because we finally won something, maybe because we were just older, but we had a lot of younger people around, and we definitely were having more and more talks about like mentorship and leadership. We'd been poured into. We didn't have any older players besides people who were already with us that hadn't played at tournaments, like people that were pouring into us, but we wanted to start cultivating a good community. We were starting to have talks kind of with that in mind. I remember that.
We were still egomaniacs at that time. I definitely was riding a high horse because I was on the D team that took a game off of the Golden Oldies, and I was all.
I think that needs to be at least talked about in this history, dude. Like, you took a game off of Rusty from the D team, early nuke or not. Like, I don't care. And I was there to watch it, dude. It was insane.
There was one bright spot in a lot of me being a huge jerk. And that was it. We took a couple of subs because the captain of that team didn't really want to play against Rusty, and the medic that we had didn't really want to play against Rusty. So we went in there with Mookie, I think his name was, from New Zealand B, and Kodama from the Sacramento Star Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
And we got really lucky. Tragedy pushed way too far forward with not enough stuff. And because of the route that he had to take in order to get back safely to the resupply, he was downstairs, and I don't remember who it was that shot him a couple of times. I think it was Mookie. But our whole game plan that entire tournament was, okay, Screever, you're going to get a couple of nukes, and then I'm going to run across and I'm going to shoot them after you drop them. 2 chains every time. And then Screever was like, okay. And we were able to get a lot done with that. We finished top of the table for the losers. We were the worst of the winners. They split up the finals in a weird way because there were 9 teams. So I think it was 6th place through 9th place did like a playoffs before finals started. And it was all single elim. So we managed to qualify for finals by narrowly beating the Oakley Raiders.
Great name, by the way.
Yeah, hilarious. Especially given they had two Sacramento players at the time. We then proceeded to go into finals and get the absolute beans punched out of us by the USA team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here it is. You almost got them in the game 1. Only 2,000 points off.
We made a drastic lineup change in the next game that, I mean, you can't blame it on someone for trying something different when the thing that's working didn't work.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we tried our best, and I mean, I was not the best player on that team. Absolutely not. At that time, especially, I had probably the most impact just being able to like shoot a bunch of people down in a weird moment, you know, but I definitely didn't have a good grip on like what are the things that matter, right? Hit diff. I was not interested. I did not care. It was very easy for me to rack up like 80 to 120 shots in a game just being a sponge, soaking them up.
I do remember you described to me the way that you would play heavy in that arena, and it seemed like you got pretty innovative with it.
I was doing weird stuff, for sure, and some people were irritated. But those are secrets for the future. I can't spread those on.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Don't do it. You were just being weird.
I was being weird. If there's any advice I can give to the young Space Marines out there, embrace the weird. Curiosity and creativity are going to find you in so many more successful scenarios. I don't know. Whatever that sentence was supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're going to find a lot more success if you're willing to be creative and you're willing to take risks, as opposed to having a book and playing by it, especially when someone else wrote that book. And I promise you, whoever wrote that book didn't put everything that they wanted into it. All sorts of secrets everywhere. Gatekeeping.
We loathe it. We loathed it for so long, but now maybe, just maybe, we got one or two things to gatekeep.
Right after I gatekeep some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you worked hard for it. You'll give away the basic stuff, even some of the advanced stuff. But the secret sauce, yeah, don't give that away yet.
I'll give anything to people after this upcoming Nats. Tell them all about how to play Brisbane after Brisbane's closed.
Mm-hmm. One more fun factoid about 2018. That is the year that I was hired by Laserforce to record the Gen 8 Infinity briefing video. And in that video, I was able to prominently feature a bunch of Space Marines out of Loveland. And that was also the year that you sort of like adopted a second code name as Bagel. And I want to clarify here on the podcast that when I made that video and wrote that video, I made a reference to you, Josiah, that no one wants to get defeated by a player named Bagel. I am, in fact, talking about you. And I say that because we have had quite a few people adopt the code name Bagel. Having a real funny yuck about it, but yeah, that's about Josiah here.
I remember changing my name to Bagel before going out to that tournament, and you going, why would you change your name to Bagel? And I said, Luke, nobody wants to be beaten by somebody named Bagel. And then
I just kept the line. It was a great line.
Me. It was up there, top 5 lines.
All right. Now, the ending of this second chapter of Loveland was when we sent out our most powerful team that we ever had to Detroit for Laserforce Internationals 2019.
This one was rough.
We got a lot coming. You tell it. I'm just going to say off the top, our lineup in general, we wanted to run a Slaughtermelon Commander, Fear Turkey Heavy, myself and Ivy on Scout, Dr. Feelgood Ammo, and Zenless Medic.
This was another one of those Sergeant Tucker couldn't make it tournaments, and
Sergeant Tucker was on the B team, actually.
Oh, you're right. That was when he was like, I would rather teach people how to play. I remember.
Yeah.
Because they took a game off of us when we walled.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have some comments about that. Probably not worth it to throw people under the bus at this point, but that was very embarrassing.
It was on me. I should have made some more clear decisions.
Yeah.
Anyways, Ivy was having kidney issues on day 3, so we had to take a sub. All
got
reliable Phantom.
Old Phantom, that's right. Who was becoming
All
quite the standout player. That
Phantom was great.
That B team, and they deserve mention, by the way. We had, Dank Memer, Phantom, Izzy, Sergeant Tucker as the captain, Goldfish, Feeder, and Ivy from Detroit was also subbing onto that team. Yeah.
This was the peak of toxicity. Both teams were having really bad drama issues. Just like internal chemistry not firing very well.
Yeah.
This one almost broke the site, actually. I think a lot of people quit after this one.
It kind of did break the site, to be honest.
This was the one where we were pretty mean to Caleb.
Yeah.
Shout out my boy Slaughtermelon. Buy a sourdough. Like and subscribe.
Yes. This was supposed to be our big breakout. This tournament was the last time that many of these sites would have their full strength rosters attending a tournament. Detroit had 2 teams, Brisbane, St. George, Syracuse, Sacramento, Auckland. Everyone was there. And we desperately wanted to actually become a top site, even just top half. We ultimately went 13 for 13 in this tournament in the round play. Kind of right there in the middle. It was really hard. I think we wanted to go for Slaughtermelon Commander for a while at the beginning. And I remember that Slaughtermelon was having some personal doubts, trying to be good enough to play the role. And it was like he was running into some barriers with his growth. And we eventually decided to put you on Commander and put me back on Heavy and Slaughtermelon back on Scout. But I don't know in hindsight if that was really the right decision.
It was not. Number one, this is the first time we take a game, we as a site take a game off of Australia.
Yes, we did take a game off of Australia.
And we did that with Caleb Commander.
We did.
I think I was Scout that game.
Yeah, you were.
We reviewed the day, and Caleb was getting shot a lot because we were not supporting him very well. And both of us did not have the ability to believe that it was on us to be better teammates. We believed that it was on Caleb to get shot less. I remember we had that conversation in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
We were also having trouble getting doubles. The resupply situation was rough, especially considering most of it had to do with equipment failure, and we were not very forgiving.
Yep. Yeah, the truth is that I had a lot of failures as a leader that tournament as the captain. I came in with a huge battle plan, lots of strategies, ways to maneuver troops around on a chessboard. But I can't say that I was very considerate of the people, that I knew exactly how to motivate, care about, inspire. That was a huge shortcoming of mine this tournament. And I think morale sank lower and lower as the days went on until I do think we got better by the end. But yes, the tournament overall was a pretty grueling experience for all of us.
I made some tactical failures. I was making a lot of really bad decisions, especially towards the mid-game area of basically every game. I had no emotional self-control, and I definitely lashed out at people for like not doing the things that I felt like they should have been doing. In reality, I think that a big problem I had was I was mad at a lot of people for not being as good as I was. And I also thought that I was just like way better than way better than what was happening in front of me. And I was having a really like large detachment from reality about like halfway through the tournament. I started really like just getting into my own head and being mad about my own expectations. That was a low, buddy. That was a low.
Well, when I look at our team, I see still a bunch of young, newer players. We still were lacking experience compared to all the other teams that were out there. The other teams had been through what were currently going through already. And there were tactical errors, there were outplays, there were teammate disagreements. And yeah, we blamed a lot of things on individual players instead of trying to help the individual players. And it just, on one hand, if I'm honest, I do want to have a little grace for myself and for you. Like, I really put my heart and soul into that tournament. I tried. I really wanted to finally, like, take third or something. And we weren't there yet. If I could go back, I would have suggested to myself to, like, actually read some books on leadership. Because I was really making some panicky decisions and some frustration-based decisions. But at the same time, like, I was so young and this was such an intense tournament. The competition was so steep. And I made a lot of my own mistakes too. But yeah, you did seem to take it hard on yourself, especially in those final games when things weren't working. It's like all you knew to do was try harder, you know?
I think that the mentally ill have volatile tendencies that should not be exposed to these types of stress levels, for sure. Because I was not reacting well, and I was in a really bad place in 2019. Just like I probably like this was my favorite thing, right? I love laser tag, and treating my friends like garbage is not really who I want to be. So like, no matter what, there's not really going to be any way for me to look at this other than like the blind leading the blind situations, you know? We didn't know better. At the same time, that doesn't make it like an excusable situation. And like, as we'll see in the next chapter, dude, it's the band breaks up and there's a lot of changes that end up being made in order to put us in a place where we can actually like do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and talk about it.
We got bodied at the end of this.
Yeah, so even though we were getting stronger towards the end, I believe we were, it came down to St. George punching us in the face in finals. We actually won the first game just barely, or like it was basically a tie. And the second game, like, I think the pressure was just too high. We had catastrophic failure across like 4 or 5 of our players. I panicked and had like a super defensive game. I didn't push I played not to lose instead of playing to win. And we were just knocked out. It was over. Tandor rolled us.
The only thing I remember from those games is standing in red resupply and looking up the ramp straight at their entire team, and just that's it. That's the last part, you know. Nothing. It's all blocked out.
Yeah. So after that tournament, we were mostly all either pretty pissed off at each other, horribly dejected, or like demoralized. I wouldn't talk to any of you pretty much for a minute there. I was really
emotionally crippled.
I was upset at a lot of the players, and that wasn't fair of me. But I felt like we might as well be done. And this was the first Nats where I was actually considering, like, I think I want to be done playing Nats. Nats had just, for 5 years, been just devastating loss after devastating loss, with no one really new entering the scene for us to actually be better than them, and nobody trying to, people try to help us up to a certain point, but like just felt like such a unfair situation. And I was not having fun at Nats anymore.
That's a good detail. I think I said I was going to quit playing laser tag after every single one of these tournaments we've talked about.
Yeah, did you?
I think so.
I think at a certain point I stopped believing you.
Yeah. Addiction does things to a person.
After this this tournament, there were definitely thoughts of Auckland 2020. And we were thinking, I remember putting together some spreadsheets about a potential half Loveland, half Cali team or something, but then, you know, COVID happened, and we pretty much lost this entire team except for you and me. Ivy, Zendless retired. The tournament was just not good for them, and they wanted to move on to other things.
Moved to Florida, Phantom moved to New York, and Caleb left us for Utah.
Yeah. Which, that was the most devastating one for me. I don't know about you, but, you know, I was definitely at a point where I felt apologetic for how we didn't give Slaughtermelon more of a chance. I was even thinking, like, it's probably about time that Slaughtermelon captains one of these teams, you know? Like, that was the level that he had gotten to. But I think it was just too little too late, and he also was growing up in his own way, had his own life to go live. And there were non-laser tag opportunities out in Utah as well. But yes, he went to play for another site, which kind of shocked me because we're not even in a paid sport. He like paid money to go play for another site to go move. I don't know if that's ever happened. I don't know if people have. I think Rusty did it. Like, he literally moved to another site at one point. But it's a pretty rare occurrence.
I think there needs to be a lot that stacks in favor of moving somewhere for laser tag. I love everyone that played on this team. They're all very important to me, and I'm still sorry. There's definitely, like, how old was I in 2019? 20? 21?
Yeah.
I don't think that people really, like, I don't know. I was definitely still very immature and was not able to be kind to the people around me. This was the breaking point, though. This is where I started, like, going to therapy, and I started, like, addressing a lot of I started addressing everything. I felt like there was definitely a disconnection between me and what was actually happening. And getting to the bottom of like a lot of that stuff was really good for me. Turns out I was really scared of a lot of stuff. And like accepting that was really hard.
It takes a lot to go and ask for help, man. I'm proud of you.
Insert ad for therapy here. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe if you need help.
Like and
go
like
get
and
some.
subscribe.
It's okay.
Go get some.
I mean, this whole thing is a giant plug for like it's okay to fail at shit. That's definitely been a theme through all of this. Like, we were kids. Even me being 23 in this tournament, like, I look back now and I'm like, I knew so little. Despite having played for 5 years, which felt like so long, I still had glaring inadequacies and I let people down. And it's okay to be in a spot where you don't know everything. That's okay. Or to admit you need help. That's okay. But it was a huge breaking point for me too. Like, I literally decided, okay, I need to move out of my parents' basement. I'm going to go back to college and move to another state. So I didn't even know if I'd ever play tag again. And then the Loveland site pretty much closed down with COVID, and a lot of our friendship continued on Discord. Lots of online gaming, I think.
We hung out out here where the people weren't in college getting degrees for helping people.
Yeah.
We were out here messing around. Some of us had already left. Dr. Feelgood went to Florida, and he had moved to Florida before that tournament had started.
Yeah, it's true.
He flew up to Florida to play with us in Detroit, and we learned a lot, you know, in hindsight. Like, you have to practice if you want to be good enough to not just play at the level, but exceed whatever level exists. You have to practice a lot with the same people over and over again. And having people that either weren't practicing or didn't practice with us was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're also talking about a level of laser tag that is just like stupid high.
Yep.
That Brisbane team was Rusty, Brew, Kodama,
Tragedy, Striker, Fredo,
Glader.
L.
No type in. No Glader.
But like Tragedy and Fredo are also renowned supports on the Brisbane team in the past. I wouldn't call Tragedy a support, to be honest. I think in my era, like, I haven't gotten to see the too much of like his legendary heavy play, but he's one of the protagonists of the scene for sure.
Tragedy, Rusty, and Fredo are golden oldies, so they come from the super team in Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
And they are very good. Very, very good. Frankly, the fact that we were even able to come together in any situation, and they took second, right? They didn't even win.
Mm-hmm.
That team was disgusting. the way that they lost was because in the first and second game, Rusty had a nuke canceled in both games. It's not it. Those are small, but impactful mistakes. You know, like by small I mean like one moment. You know, one thing went wrong in one moment. It literally. I don't think that's ever happened to him in his entire career, other than that specific situation where in a match two nukes get canceled, one in each game. I don't think that that's ever happened to him before. And he's been playing since before my parents met.
Crazy.
For those of you that don't know, Rusty has the most games in the world. A lot of games.
He's pretty good.
He's played a bazillion of them. And we were in a situation where we were in odds, right? Going into the pod play. So we got Detroit A. No.
We got Brisbane 2 matches.
We were evens. We played against them.
I want to admit something on air. The match that the game, not the match. They destroyed us in the second game. The game that we took off of Brisbane. I tagged Rusty in the hallway and he backtracks. I then chase Rusty like 15 feet. So we both know that I have chased him, but there's no refs. And as soon as he comes up, he begins to try to missile me, and I tag him. And he rightfully gives me a glare because I have blatantly cheated, and then I run away. I will admit that I cheated partially. That did not determine the whole outcome, but I definitely cheated in that game, and I am sorry, Rusty.
Luke, I can't believe you would do that.
Dude, I think I was freaking out. I'm like, it's Rusty, man. I gotta make something happen here.
I don't believe that happened.
Okay. Are you good to move on to 21?
Yeah, I think this was the most impactful tournament for our site, though. That's a note. This was the one where we realized that it was a team game.
Actually, yeah, that's actually probably worth talking about. Not just that it's a team game, but that nurturing the friendships is one of the most important parts of running a Laserforce scene. Because if you don't treat each other well and treat your site well, you will lose people.
Fast. Real fast. You have to want to be there.
Yep.
And that's hard to do if you hate everyone there.
Pretty crazy, honestly, that literally you and I were the only ones left from that A team that went out just the 6 years ago. I mean, Sergeant Tucker was right there the whole time. And that was really an impactful tournament for Tucker as well, I think. He had to play 3-hit, carry a very heavy load for that team, develop a lot of leadership skills. It was just a very rough team to lead, I think. Thankfully, he had Phantom.
We decided to wall because we were disrespecting our A team or our B team. We felt like we could try some new stuff against them just to see if it works. And we had to try against them. We didn't respect where we were in the standings. Like, whenever you're in the bottom half, you have to try your best. every game. You cannot be trying new stuff out against your B team just because they're labeled the B team, because they'll just shit on you. They've been learning this whole time. And they punched us in the mouth for walling.
Yep. Although, one note on walling, don't resupply your entire team at the same time.
Don't resupply your entire team at the same time. Bad idea. I'm not sorry.
I'm giving you double middle fingers right now.
I'm not sorry. I was the medic that game, and I put everyone down for lives.
And Phantom just waltzes in.
Just walked on in, killed us all, and then we died.
Now,
it was me.
Fair enough. Maybe we shouldn't have done it against our B team. But part of the logic of that was we were genuinely trying to shoot against the top teams. Try to take first, you know? So I wanted to know if it was a possible option in case we wound up against Brisbane in the finals. Something like that. Some crazy outcome. Yeah, I'm about those ceiling outcomes. Be weird, shoot for the stars. I don't know. But yeah, did not work. And now we know a little bit more about walling.
Great. I am going to choose to play the game from now on. No more walls.
All right.
We're gonna be bad. We're gonna be bad fighting.
Maybe I'll talk you into one.
No.
In 15 years.
Not in that. You're crazy.
Okay, so there was a large hiatus. We were pretty much doing online games on Discord. Most of us wanted to quit. And I'll be curious to hear your side of this, but from my perspective, with no provocation of any kind, I was out living in Arizona. I was on a trip to Mexico with some of my buddies, and they were hosting the first re-entry tournament after COVID, a fake, quote-unquote, Laserforce Internationals in Syracuse, and I call you up, and I'm like, time to start rebuilding, dude. Let's get a team together.
This one, expectations were really high. I remember we were going into this really thinking like, all right, we have gotten a lot better since 2019. Let's try and apply some of that stuff. Dr. Feelgood was still living in Florida. Phantom was still living in New York. But Brahmatized and my boy, Simply Okay, having their debut Nats.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 rookies, and they had never been exposed to the level before. There was kind of a culture shock, I think, at first, because like the practice night, everything was fine, but then we started playing rounds and nerves started hitting. And like immediately we had to start changing our lineup.
Yeah, for sure. I think we tried a few different things. We had trouble getting some people to synergize in certain areas. We were having some potential health issues. I think Dr. Feelgood's ankle was messing up. We were a little worried about putting you on a super running intense role for this one. We wanted Brahmatized and Dr. Feelgood to sync up on Resupply, but they were not. They were having some personality conflicts. And yeah, I agree with you. It was definitely like we were definitely a lot. I think we were a lot better than 2019, but nerves were hitting. And the lineup we ended up going with was me on Commander, you Heavy, Phantom and Brahmatized Scouts with Dr. Feelgood Medic, and Simply Okay Ammo. I heard stories that on the back line it was a lot of you defending the Resup and the Resup kind of calling your name in panic and running around.
There was a lot of weird stuff going on, Luke.
I'm not saying I would have done any better.
I don't mean to throw people under the bus, but this tournament we learned a lot about advanced resupply mechanics and how to maneuver in ways that make it so that people are taking significantly reduced damage. Simply Okay specifically took a lot away from this tournament. He learned a lot about how to play in the late game. Just what would happen is eventually, like, Syracuse has a maze. Usually the medic's going to die. Probably for both teams if it's a close game. And the inevitability of it was dependent on whether or not your offense and your defense are mixing well, and whether or not you're controlling a lot of space. And that was not something that we were really comfortable with doing yet. And so there was a lot of weirdness going on. Every once in a while, someone would sneak into the resupply, and it would be chaos for 2 minutes, you know? There would be situations where people were trying to get doubles, and then we would all be in one place for too long. And these are all not mistakes that Members Night level really punishes very well, especially not in 10-minute games. So when we're playing and we're experiencing a lot of this stuff, it was a lot of first times. And the weight of Nats was very heavy. I remember specifically Simply Okay was not handling the pressure of playing Commander very well, so we swapped off. And I remember Brahmatized was playing really well at Scout by the end. Just consistently having high hit diffs and medic hits. Phantom, prior to this tournament, had just won an MVP Scout in a random draw, so we were like really hyped up on having her on the team. And she did fine.
Yeah, she did fine.
But random draws are not Nats. And when people have the Nats pants on, it is a little steep. And like, maybe we should have listened to the East Coast guys telling us to put Phantom on heavy. That might have been fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever tried that.
No, we never did. You played every single game of heavy.
Did we put her on Commander at all?
Yeah, we gave her 4 games. We were trying out a bunch of stuff, you know. The lineup I gave was kind of... because something that we had learned, and I was definitely keen on... I wanted to find our lineup by the middle of day 2, for sure. So coming out of day 1, like, I was like, we need to come in tomorrow with, like, our official lineup, because I'm not going to have us be trying things out all tournament and not gaining synergy. So we at least learned, like... we at least learned, like, you know, we'll get our roles, and if we need to change tactics, we can do that. And yes, I appreciate you detailing that nuance. I don't mean to throw anyone under the bus. I just remember the joke of the tournament essentially being like, from the resupply perspective, guys, I have a plan. Josiah! You know, which maybe I found a little funnier than you did.
It was funny. Definitely definitely doesn't win you a lot of games when you're not able to do any amount of rotations or have consistent impact from both of your 3 hits. We were playing Protect the Egg for probably like 5 to 8 minutes of every game. And after the egg broke and there was no more egg, me and John would come into the fold, party.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that we discovered that was what we had to do was through trying to do advanced stuff. Remember what Thunder talked about in 2016?
Mm-hmm.
And just not being good enough to do it. You would go, all right, Josiah, I'm back. You gotta go out there and shoot them. And I would go out there. I would tag maybe 2 people, go down a couple times, you know. And then I would hear your medic is under attack on my pack. Soon following, Josiah, help us.
Yeah, guilty. Guilty as charged. Yeah.
So then I'd come back.
And you shoot people and save us. Our hero.
No, the egg dies every game. Could not protect the egg.
We were definitely... It's clear that we had developed a lot more macro and maturity since 2016, the previous time we were there. But
yeah, we weren't yelling at each other this time.
We were definitely still lacking both synergy, experience, and I would even argue some talent. Like, I think me on Commander was necessary, but it held the team back. My playstyle was definitely not one where I'm good at breaking in on resupplies, and that was a pretty necessary skill for winning out there in Syracuse, at least from my perception. I also was running out of juice by the 3rd or 4th day, and my play was sagging quite a bit. But Brahmatized was developing this incredible skill in being able to get meta kits even when he was the only one attacking. The dude is just a total dive bomber. So we developed
an absolute unit.
Completely.
Shout out Brahmatize, like and subscribe.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say that he was putting up like really high scout scores in that arena, but he was an assassin, we were learning. So we began to develop a strategy of like, okay, Bromley's going to help me attack, Phantom's more the midfield. We kind of had a plan, but it wasn't good enough to beat really any of the top teams. We took a couple games off of St. George, which that was a huge part of the story. This was the big debut of Slaughtermelon as a St. George player, and there was a rivalry for sure. We wanted to beat each other.
He was mad. We were mad. Everybody was mad.
Yeah.
There was beef.
You know, Slaughtermelon didn't... Like, we had disrespected Slaughtermelon in 2019, but we felt disrespected that he was leaving. So it was kind of like more blind hurt people, blind leading the blind again. But yeah, we didn't do very well this tournament. We took 4th. Couldn't really break through in finals.
We went 2-2 with Utah. They got the better of both, I think.
We did. I think they smashed us in finals, though. Did we even meet up against them?
I don't think we met up against them.
No, you're right. We couldn't break through Cali.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't even make it that far.
Yeah.
It was fine. We didn't play so poorly to the point where, like, I think that we kind of started seeing hope at this point. Bromley and Simply Okay played incredibly well. especially towards the later half of the second round, they started really like showing signs of being good.
Mm-hmm.
And I will always love playing laser tag with Vanessa. Phantom is awesome. Huge fan.
Yeah, she is.
Dr. Feelgood, this was, I think, the last we saw of him for tournaments.
Not quite, but it was the beginning of the end, I think. If we, and you know,
he played duos, but I mean, like,
yeah,
where we actually have set up teams.
22 West Coast, which we're getting to.
Oh, you're right.
How could
got that one blocked out?
How could you forget my favorite team in Loveland history? So, and then yeah, Bromley and I became random draw world champions. Just for the record, everyone, Loveland holds a random draw world record. At the end of 21, but we all came back, and just by the way, after that tournament, like it's a little disappointing, but we did have our sights set on training up, rebuilding. We knew we weren't as good as we were, and had to kind of focus on giving some people who were sticking around some valuable experience. So that's when West Coast 22 came out, and Loveland put together 3 teams where we split up our main talent into different areas. I went with Loki's Revengers. We got Poopies, a longtime player this is his first tournament. Feeder, an OG, Brahmatized, returning, Simply Okay returning from the 21 team. Myself and Loki. And your wonderful, wonderful team. See these jerseys here?
The Rat drew our jerseys. This one was not my favorite team. Yeah, kind of a mess, actually.
This B team was the Fear Turkey, Ghost in his tournament debut, the Rat returning from the C team, Dank Memer, Dr. Feelgood, and Izzy, the Bakery.
We were the Bakery. This tournament, I think we actually lost to Sergeant Tucker's team.
Yeah, Sergeant Tucker had a C team as well. He captained with Cody from Syracuse, Raiden GL, Judoku in his debut, and 2 traveling German players, El Diablo, and I'm forgetting the other person's name. I will find it. Talk a little about our intention coming into West Coast 22. Or should I call the first Loveland Nats?
I'm not calling this a Nats. We didn't have an A team out. Our focus was
Everyone else thought it was a Nats.
Yeah, well, they're trolling.
I'll complain about that in a second.
They can say whatever they want. It wasn't an Nats. It was a West Coast. That's why we called it West Coast. Otherwise, we would have built an A team. Yeah, this was 2019. We went, okay, we need to really like focus on building up new players, because all our old players are either leaving or they are not really interested in traveling.
Xenon, by the way. Continue.
The focus was to take people who seem passionate about what was going on and mix them with the experienced players so that everybody can learn a little bit. We needed to take a break from trying to win, and we needed to really focus on trying to spread out all of the information that we had started compiling over the years. And I felt like we ended up doing a pretty good job. There's tons of players that played in this tournament that now are like pretty big wig names, if I do say so myself.
I would agree.
Loki's Revengers had a couple of subs throughout the tournament, right? Because not everybody was able to show up every day. Like we were trying to treat this a little bit more casually, and it was not being received that way.
Yeah, we had a couple subs. As I look at the list and see, I think we're counting 14 subs at different points.
Yeah.
I think Loki had to miss a day. We had Zenless subbing in for a few games. I was very intentional to try to get her back for just a minute. I think she deserved a spot on the team. And one of my all-time favorite Lovelanders. Shaved Ape only played 11 of the games, unfortunately. I think he had to miss 2. No. He just had 2 cards. He played pretty much the whole tournament. Oh, Feeder only
I know
could come
Peter
for...
wasn't there every day.
Yeah, Feeder missed most of the tournament.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. So, from my perspective, that Loki's Revengers was really like... Obviously, Brahmatized, Loki, and Simply Okay all would end up on the future Loveland A team. It was putting more weight on them, more responsibility. I think that was our offense. Simply Okay mainly played Commander. Brahmatized and Loki mainly played Scout. So, and they were up against the best, you know? They had to really... They couldn't just like lean on getting carried. Especially with me being still out of state, very out of practice.
Yeah, I mean, you had 2 players who 2 players who were not consistently coming to members nights, right? Between you and Feeder. And that really puts a strain on teams that are meant to be like the A team, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to practice. And between me and you, like, we had never played in a tournament where we weren't on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, a big growing point for us was being able to play without each other. I think, like, creating a situation where, like, you're forced to pick up what I normally hold, and then vice versa, right? I was put in a position where I had to really like develop a lot of the things that you were holding. Does that make sense?
Completely agree. We you, me, and Sergeant Tucker all were kind of a foundation of a team across different areas of a team, and splitting all of us up definitely forced us to develop some muscles we were weaker in.
There were personality conflicts that were pretty apparent, and Sergeant Tucker did not want to play with some of the people that we put a lot of favor into. And this led to like a lot of willingness to play with newer people. Basically everybody was like pretty ready to go in there. I remember specifically that I refused to play anything other than ammo because I wanted to resupply with Izzy. And I was trying to help develop macro game ideas with other people, so I said, I'm not making the plan. You guys have to do it. So there was like, we were playing a very scrappy members night style, and it worked in the first day, but then the team fell apart immediately.
Which is, oh, yep, you definitely beat me as far as a number of subs on your team.
I had like 20. Yeah.
Yep, that's a whole page of subs.
Yeah, a lot of subs. We got around. Day 2, there were some immediate personality conflicts. The rat graciously decided he wanted to go to work instead of play laser tag. Dank Memer was actually a manager at LLT at the time and had to do a bunch of work stuff during the tournament, so he missed some games. He played a good amount of them though. Dr. Feelgood decided that he had had enough and left on Thursday, so day 4. So by the end of it, we were pretty much just scraps.
Honestly, I really respect the way that you came in and decided, I am here to teach you all. I'm not here to play heavy and try to carry you to wins. I think the players that did utilize the opportunity got a lot out of it. And it was, even though, yeah, the team fell apart, like it had some important lessons in there. Now, there are some longtime Laserforce community members who shall not be named who are probably whose buttholes are very tight talking about this team. And I will put a public disclaimer out, like, hey, if you're going to play on a team, you need to commit to play the whole time, be there for all the games, no matter how much fun you're having, no matter who you like or don't like. Even if someone else on the team isn't living up to that, you gotta be there. There's just a public announcement.
I, as the captain, should have put a stop to the drama that was going on, for sure. The willingness to give up is not something that I can really fix, you know? But
yeah, that's really not on you. You couldn't.
There were a lot of really bad decisions being made. I remember Ghost was like working his night job while he was playing the tournament. So like he would sleep through half the games.
Yeah, that was not cool. I felt really bad for him, but he had the power to make that decision. So I really don't care about that argument, to be honest. It comes up a lot when we're talking about this team from other community members. But I see this photo and it seriously is like my personal favorite Loveland team to look at, where I'm like, this is such an odd group of people. And like the roles, you were putting yourself on ammo, forcing certain other players to grow and develop at such a high level of play. I think a lot of people got better good out of it.
Some of them appreciated it more than others, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Sergeant Tucker's team was only 3 Lovelanders. It was himself, Judoku, and Raiden GL. And Judoku learned a lot. He was young, right? Like 14 at this time. Yeah, I think
so, yeah.
So, like...
just a kid.
His exposure was so low. And then he came in, got bonked for the first 2 days. And then the team was a well-oiled machine, capable of taking higher places than the quote-unquote B team. The rotating door.
You got to give a lot of credit to Cody who came in and played a great commander, to the Germans, Xenon and El Diablo, who I think were two of the best communicators in the whole tournament. You could hear them constantly talking the whole game. And I think this tournament was really good for Sergeant Tucker. I mean, this between starting with Nats in 2019 and this tournament, Tucker had been forced to play 3-hit on lesser teams for like 3 years. And gosh, I think it just made him into a total warmonger when he had to be. It's a really good balance when you also had spent a bunch of time learning to resupply. Like he
Cody
could do
set
it.
some site high scores, right?
I think
On this
so.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he certainly got some in the tournament. I'll check.
The fact that fact that Cody.
Hold on, check this out. 6 of the top 10 commander scores of the tournament went to Cody.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think he had a bunch of 13 and 14ers, right?
3 13ers.
In order to score that many points, you need a lot of time. Like, it just takes a while. And what that means is Sergeant Tucker on Heavy was able to keep his resupply alive to keep Cody full enough to do that for the entire time Cody was doing that. In Loveland, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of games go to time.
Yeah, that was their play style. Cody's much more of a farmer. And Joe's a wall.
Win.
And yeah, they ended up being the top of the bottom bracket by the end of the tournament. They did a great job.
They deserved every win. They played so good.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely had some growing moments, where they needed to make changes in order to make stuff work. Because the first couple of days were pretty sour for those guys, if I remember.
Yeah, I think so.
And they got it together.
Yeah, they did.
Kind of had opposite trajectories with my team.
Just want to give credit to Raid and GL, by the way. Just being a total trooper. Always had a great attitude and even called Joe out a few times when he needed to be called out. I think he
told him to shut up.
Gets underlooked on this team. So if I could just talk for a sec about the West Coast, people kept calling it like a Nats or like Nats, and it is disappointing to me. I get it. I totally get it. I don't blame anyone who didn't come out to Nats 24. It's hard to make the trip, but I wish we could have basically had a lot of these teams come out for Nats 2 years later instead of this tournament. There were a lot of big name players here who made it all the way out for a West Coast but didn't come for the Nats following up. It was crazy. This West Coast had just such a turnout. But yeah, it wasn't a Nats. That's why we made 3 separate teams and split up all our best players. It's just weird.
Part of the reason why the level was really high was because there was a super team that formed.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the site teams were taking that super seriously. They were like, this is an opportunity to find out whether or not super teams are better than site teams. And I don't think that super teams are necessarily worse than site teams. I think they just have different benefits. And it's a lot of circumstantial stuff. Caleb, who plays for Cedar City at this point, ends up winning this tournament with Utah. And I think that was really important, to be honest. Losing to Caleb put us in a position where we really felt like we were behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was pretty crummy. Not gonna lie.
In our home arena, even with the cope of 3 different teams not trying super hard, it was still.
Well, at least for my team being the quote unquote A team, like we didn't think we were gonna be that bad. We took third in round play and fourth in the finals. We did take one game off of Caleb's team, but yeah, I mean they came in and they dominated. It was across the board. They were by far the best team at this tournament. The St. George or Cedar City team, with Slaughtermelon running away as the top player, I think. Yep, he won MVP. He was the commander. He was insane. He even was changing the meta. He was finding new strategies that we hadn't thought of. And it was a total dunk on us. Which he earned it, you know. He was teaching the St. George players how to play our arena much better. And it was great for all of them, too. They played an incredible tournament. One other note from, and let me know if I'm cutting you off at all. I'm just kind of continuing on, but one other note for me in this tournament, like this was a really important tournament for me too, because it began a minor plot line for me about PTSD in the heavy position. Even though it was split teams, I felt a pressure to prove that I was good enough to win games without you, or like with what I considered to be still a really strong roster, even though it wasn't like our best roster. And dude, I just got wrecked a lot on heavy, and particularly Kodama was becoming a prominent heavy player at our arena. And I definitely disrespected him. I didn't see him as an incredible player. Like I saw him as really good, but not as good as me at this point. And he wrecked me on heavy multiple games in a row. There's a heavy game in here where I get killed out with about, I think, literally negative 1,000 by him, and that was the single most humiliating game I've ever had in my tournament experience. So I'm trying to find it. It may have just been 0, honestly. Yep, I literally just had a 0 score. Yeah, it's really humiliating. And I developed a fear, like after that tournament, playing in the Loveland arena, playing heavy weapons, recognizing how quickly everything can go downhill, how easy it is to lose a trade, how much pressure is put on you. I began to really dread the heavy weapons position, and I developed a huge imposter syndrome where I just did not feel like I was going to be good enough to even play 3-hit on our Loveland A team when the opportunity came.
Well, you had to get over that. Sorry, dude.
Oh yeah, I had to. That's part of my plot line, I suppose. But yep, the only PTSD attack I've ever actually had, or sorry, the only panic attack I've ever had, that was the wrong term, was in finals when I was realizing that I couldn't break through Cayman and we were losing the game. We were going to get killed out and take 4th place in our own West Coast. Yep, I had a panic attack in the middle of that game, and it shook me pretty bad for a while. You'll notice that as we began to form our Loveland A team, which we did around this time, I was never a 3-hit on any of those initial rosters. Frankly, I just didn't believe in myself. Anyway, doing all right?
Yeah. I don't know. I always believe in you, Luke. My team took 7th, and I don't know. By the end of it, I think the last games, it was Trinity, myself, so Goldfish, me, Izzy. I think Ghost was there for the last bit. I don't remember who was subbing for us, but I know we had at least 2. I was pretty ready to call it. If we had won those games, because I knew nobody was going to show up for Friday, I remember saying, okay, well, even if we win these, we're just gonna forfeit after this so that they can keep playing, because they traveled here to play, and we don't have a full team. I remember that made Trinity pretty sad, but I definitely was just like super irritated that Slade and the Rat were gone for finals. I was pretty pissed. And like, as an ammo, there's not really a lot that I can do to like remind people, because like when you're playing 3-hit, you have the keys. It is up to you to decide how you are going to use those keys. And we ran into a situation where one of the people who had the keys was being emotional and not paying attention to what was going on around them, and instead decided they were going to harm the team. And when stuff like that happens, like, it's just 2019 situations. So for me, the shoe was kind of on the other foot. I was the one who was receiving it, and I felt like I handled it pretty well. Like, I didn't freak out or anything, and I had a couple of conversations with other experienced players about like how to deal with situations like this in the future. But to be honest, it kind of comes down to team building and like making sure that the people that are on the team enjoy being together, because they're going to spend a lot of time together.
Ain't that the truth?
It's not going to be easy time all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're the best team, like, you're going to drop games because people are studying you. People are going to try and trick you into doing things that are terrible. And when it happens, you have to be consistent, you know? Try and be the voice of reason. That was the advice given to me anyways. I am not particularly good at being the voice of reason. Usually I just tell people, stop it.
Well, honestly, it probably did improve your leadership skills a bit. You had to wrangle quite a few personalities.
I loved playing with Izzy. That resupply was freaking hilarious. We had a good moment where he decided that he was going to have a hero play, and he was going to go put the entire enemy team down as the medic.
Mm-hmm.
Our heavy weapons goes down, and they're all in chamber, hiding in the box. And Izzy just like books it up the ramp from closet all the way up into trench, goes around the corner, immediately gets triple tapped. And he comes back down, And he looks at me with this look of surprise, like, where did they come from, you know? And I look at him, and then I look over at our heavy, whose jaw is just on the floor. He just couldn't believe his eyes.
You did what?
It was incredible. And I'm gonna there's some memories from this event that I'll treasure forever, and playing Resupply with Izzy was one of my favorite things. We consistently had we were hitting all of our doubles, and we were being really really efficient when people needed stuff. But the moment that people stopped needing stuff, we started getting squirrely, started running around like crazy. It was a lot of him yelling at me to stop going out and shooting people, come back and protect him, you know? And it was a lot of me going out and shooting people, and him shooting me to get me to stop doing that, you know? Pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a lot of fun to play with.
Absolutely. Bubbly guy, very nice personality. Ghost learned a lot this tournament. Ghost had to play Commander on a bad team, which was exactly what he needed in order to really like explode into what he is now.
Yeah, 1000%. And yeah, you know, even people that didn't continue on. I mean, the rat kept playing. The rat actually came in quite a big role later on. Do you think he learned much from this event?
He played Monday. We were the second seed going into Tuesday, and then he quit.
Yep. Well, maybe you learned that about the commitment piece, because he did totally commit later on. But yeah, you guys did a lot with what you had, and you know, Simply Okay, he had kind of the same experience as Jarrett. He had to play Commander on and some heavy against some really good teams. And Brahmatized and Loki had to make do with less, not having you on the team. They had to carry quite a bit more weight, and Loki ended up playing some Resupply too before taking a very heroic blow to the face, ending his
taking a friendly fire punch to the face.
Yeah.
My favorite.
It's unfortunate.
Phaser to the nose. It's a classic.
The absolute madman came back. And, you know, this was Poopy's first competitive tournament. And I think he learned a lot about team synergy. He got, you know, really pumped up for his future, like Nat's debut. He had been around for a very long time, since 2014. He was there when the St. George team originally came out to teach us laser tag. He was on that Princess Noah team, actually.
It's awesome.
So it was really cool to see him around.
He was good. Like, I mean, there were definitely places where he needed to learn, like getting low on the walls, you know, having to really figure out where his body was in comparison to like where he wanted it to be. He was being put into the fryer though, for sure, because I think this tournament we split bottoms and tops, right?
Something like that. It was also a lot of personalities. This team was meant to be kind of like the golden oldies of Loveland.
I mean, we split top seeds and bottom seeds for the pods, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, bottoms and tops. That was what I was going for. But and when you get put as a newer player to the tournament scene, when the level is really high, it feels a lot like a pressure cooker during that first event.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really know what's going to come out of that until like well after the tournament, where you can kind of reflect. But I felt like Poopy's really started having a spike when it came to hiding. Because after this tournament, his medic play was ridiculous. He's the biggest dude ever. Like, he is tall. And he is impossible to have good hit diffs against when he's playing medic.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that.
He always gets away, and he always puts one in consistently. He also learned about how to like utilize jump shots for himself. So like playing around the fortress wall and all that stuff, he was using his height. I think for Brahmatize, this was more of like a polishing his skills type of event. Like he was really just kind of cultivating himself, sharpening the knife.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was really cementing himself on his favorite role as a scout. He was just excited to play that alongside Loki. Those two have a good synergy and a friendship.
I love them. They're great.
But to be honest, at the time, this was, years ago now, I think Brahmatized was struggling to hit ceiling games in Scout. I would have considered him, I considered him great as far as his, getting medic hits, but I think he was still struggling with kind of that zone control macro game style of play. And I think this forced him to play with a little more intentionality and flexibility, because just running into the enemy resupply was not working against some of those top teams.
My favorite part about him is his willingness to stick to the plan up until it stops working and then adjust. He's always willing to do the dirty work too. Like if you're the scout and you're the only person attacking, he's still going to come out with some medic hits.
Mm-hmm.
He consistently was willing to sacrifice his time, his energy for his team, and I have a lot of respect for him for that.
Yeah.
Gotta Brahmatize, like and subscribe.
And for Loki, just as well, he hadn't played in a competitive tournament at all since 2015, the original, 8 years earlier.
He also played in the 2014 missionary trip.
Well, that was 9 years before.
Yeah.
Well, he played in 2015 Nats.
He did. You're right. He was on the A team.
Anyway, yeah, he hadn't played in a tournament for a while, and this was a team of people that he thoroughly enjoyed. I think just for him, he got to actually synergize. He always talks about how he's playing against us and never gets a chance to play with us because we're always doing members night games. So I think he relished the chance to just be against some new styles of opponent, and it helped him learn how to play in context of a team. A Loveland team.
A team that practiced was kind of what he wanted next.
Right.
And I'm really glad that he played with us because he's one of my favorites.
Ditto.
He's just one of the most compassionate people on the planet.
I love that. Completely agree. Good word to describe him. One of his biggest strengths is, so you don't think about this, but he helps keep a team melded together. He's just a super loving person, and he always raises the morale of everybody he plays with. That's a skill that is hard to teach to people. Despite
Not to
our
mention the fact that he's very good at laser tag.
yes.
My favorite thing to do when he is on my team is be the person that's jumping into the enemy resupply while he backs me up.
100%.
It is my favorite. He is so good about putting himself in places where he can deal collateral damage, just like to all of the outside while you're in there doing whatever you're doing with the resupply. And he makes like compounding damage. So if you shoot the medic, he's also going to shoot the medic. So it's good. He's really good. Huge fan.
Yeah. 1,000%. Now, I was honestly just thinking, like, how did he even grow from this tournament? Because he was already really good at that. And good.
I felt like he was figuring out what positioning. Like, he was like filtering the positioning from members' nights that works and into the stuff that doesn't work in a Nats situation. Because if we're being honest, the level of teams that came in to this tournament were Nats level teams. That was the Chula A team, or did they have a full Cali roster?
That was a full Chula team only.
Yeah, and then the Cedar A team, which was at the peak of its power. The super team with DK, Guy Next Door, Brew, Scythe, Micro, and who was the last one?
Odin's Fist.
Odin's Fist. That's right.
So, honestly, man, we're at the 3-hour mark. It's getting pretty late. And
ready to take a break.
I think this might be a good place to actually make this a two-parter, because right after this tournament, this essentially began setting the foundations of our Loveland A team. And I think it'd be good to end here with the preface of everything that led up to what began us building that team that would go on to win Laserforce Internationals in 2024.
We're on our way up.
Right. So, you all right with that? Mind if we take a pause here and continue on next time?
Yeah.
All right. Well, dude, it was
talk later.
A complete honor talking to you here and just diving into all this. If there's anything that you'd want people to take away from this episode, what might it be?
Get help if you are dealing with really big feelings that don't make any sense. And have some mercy for yourself when you have weak moments. If there's really anything that matters, it's that the community that you build around yourself, it like the laser tag community for us, right? But really any community, whether it's like some kind of dancing class, or if you're going out and you're hanging out with a bunch of people that like to play flag football, right? Anything. Anytime there's a large group of people, it is really important to give a shit about them. Don't treat them like dog meat. They are people, and all of them have the same opportunities and the same desires to be good at the game and to enjoy spending time doing whatever they're doing. So, like, don't get wrapped up in your head. All those expectations. Especially when you're trying to be really competitive, it's important to just, like, be okay with the fact that sometimes your best isn't going to be good enough. But the best was the best you could do. Give
Yeah.
credit to them. If they beat you at your best, then they deserved it. Fair and square. And like and subscribe for more.
I completely agree with all that. And I'll just add, having compassion for where you're at right now doesn't mean that you can't get better, but if there's anything that's apparent throughout all of our years of playing, it's that being super hard on yourself and on others out of a desire to win and be better, oftentimes you're actually sabotaging yourself, shooting yourself in the foot. Treating people well is part of being a good player, being a good teammate, being a good captain. So don't neglect it as an important part of being a good, getting yourself to those goals, even if that's all you actually care about. But if I may say, having great friendships is actually a pretty great perk that comes with this game. And I might even add, it's the most important part.
Leading with love is the only way to get it done. That's the only way to make friends. You have to be willing to... You have to be willing to put your heart on the line,
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's scary. But when you have groups of people that you care about, it's really important to show them that.
Well said, my friend.
In a nutshell, we love you, Laserforce. Sorry for being a jerk.
Yeah. And hopefully we can, now that we have some experience and certainly much more to go, set a better standard and be leaders in living that out. But we're always learning and growing, and it's okay if you are too.
Sometimes it's really hard.
I can't think of a funny song lyric to go off of that. I was trying to think of some kind of a love song. But, oh, here we go. If you're being a jerk, stop in the name of love.
Stop in the name of love.
All right, man, we'll wrap it up here. Give a goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people. Have a good rest of your night. If we helped you fall asleep, like and subscribe.